Debbie, will you also make me co-host so I can make Chris and Chris co-hosts?
You are already a co-host,
Okay,
and
perfect.
I just made Chris and Chris also co-hosts, and Jackie, because she's going to help us handle the mute button. So there you go.
All right. Hello, friends, and welcome to Chaos to Control. We're going to kick it off hard. We're going to get right into it. Let's get some hands up. For those of you that want to participate and have video on, who has time management issues? Raise your hand. Everybody. That's what I like to see. All right. Who wants to get better at managing their time? Raise your hand. Okay. Who here is completely clueless on what to do next to get better at managing your time? Any takers? Oh, less of us want to actually show up and talk about it. All right. Well, today we have some very special guests. So I'm going to introduce Chris Stieg and Chris Widener. Chris Stieg, if you would go first, introduce yourself, say hello, and then we'll go to Chris Widener.
Well, hey guys. Hey, it's great to see you. I see some familiar faces here. I see some unfamiliar faces, and it's just great to be with you. I live in Austin, Texas, and my wife and I have been here for 18 years. I've been in the real estate space for a very long time. I love the business. I love how it allows us to branch out and to create other things centered around the real estate space. About 90% of my own business is listings. It's been like that for a very, very long time. I work in the golf course niche, and so I've been we have about 9 courses. We live on a golf course community, so I'm able to talk the language, and we do a lot of things around our golf course community here. So I'm happy to be here, Ray. Thanks so much for having us, Debbie. Thank you as well, and I'm looking forward to our time together this evening. So thank you all for your time.
Okay, Chris, real question. How many sets of golf clubs do you have, man?
Well, I'm looking at 2 sets right here in my corner in my office. And then I've
do
got
you rent those out to your clients, or how does that work?
Hey, what's fun is I get to play a lot of golf with a lot of my clients, and it's just great time together, building relationships with them, learning about them and their families and what they do and how's work. And so we spend a lot of time on the golf course together, and it's just a great way to get repeat business. And so I've been doing that for a long time. So I love the game. It's more for the fellowship. I'm not an even par player, but on occasion I'll hit a good shot here or there. But it's more just because I love the game and I love the outdoors as well. So yeah,
Love
man.
it. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you bet.
Chris Widener, I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Hey, I'm Chris Widener, and I am a professional speaker and author. I've written 25 books, given 2,500 speeches all over the world. I was mentored by 3 really great guys from 2002 until 2009. I had the great privilege of working with John Maxwell. Many of you will know John. I ghost wrote for John for 2 years. I wrote with Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N. Many of you might know Jim. I wrote with him for about 7 years, traveled, did some speaking engagements with Jim, and then wrote his last book, a book called 12 Pillars. And then a guy named Zig Ziglar, who I think is probably the greatest guy I've ever met. And I was fortunate enough to co-host Zig's television show, a show called True Performance, which you can still find on YouTube. People say, how long ago did you do that show with Zig? And I say about 40 pounds ago. So you'll take a look at me and you'll go, wow, he was young. But that was a lot of fun. And so I've enjoyed being a personal development writer and speaker. And when I really was transitioning from being a youth speaker to leadership, which is what I've talked about for 25 years or so, I talked about time management. I spent about 3 years doing time management seminars. And so I'm very passionate about time management and thankful to be able to be here tonight.
That's awesome, Chris. Thank you so much. We're excited to have your experience with us tonight. Let's kick it off with a really basic question. What is time management?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Well, first, okay, so this is the funny thing. There is no such thing as time management. You can't manage time. And you're like, what the heck did I sign up for this for? Well, here's why. If you think about it, just think about this. This is time every second, right? it just goes. I can't stop it. Can't make it go faster. Can't make it go slower. If all of a sudden I die, it just keeps right on going. We can't manage time. So time management is a little bit of a myth. There are some strategies, but the reality is that it's really self-management while time passes by. So I want to kind of give us a fundamental shift, because if we say it's time management, we kind of look and go, well, it's time's fault. There's not enough time in the day. But Elon Musk and the bum on the park bench both have the same amount of time every day, 24 hours a day, right? It's what we do with our time. It's what we do with ourselves while time passes by. So in reality, time management is really self-management. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is really about what are the things we do with and for ourselves while time is passing by. So we all going to wake up tomorrow morning. Let's say we all wake up at 7 and we all go to bed tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. We're all going to have 15 hours tomorrow. And it's not that we will manage the time, it's will we manage ourselves? So I think that's kind of a fundamental sort of foundation to give ourselves as we get started tonight.
I love it. Yeah, I think ultimately it's what we give our attention to, right, Chris?
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's about setting priorities, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to establish priorities, set priorities, but ultimately it's about accountability. And the funny thing is, you know, we talk a lot about accountability, but even accountability is sort of a myth, because if I say to you, Ray, I want you to be my accountability partner. And you and I don't live near each other. And I say, I want to lose some weight. I want you to be my accountability partner. And so you call me and you say, hey, how'd you eat today? And I ate a big giant cheeseburger and French fries and, you know, dessert at lunch. And then a, you know, big fat steak and baked potato that night and, you know, another dessert. And you call me at night and go, hey, holding you accountable. How'd you eat today? I could lie to you. Say, oh man, it was great, because I'm too embarrassed to tell you, oh, cheeseburgers and steaks and I had 2 ice creams today, you know, whatever, right? So really the reality of being accountable to somebody first has to start with us being accountable to ourselves. And so it's good to have somebody to help hold you accountable, but ultimately whether or not you're accountable is really your own decision about whether you will let somebody else hold you accountable. So I think, and I think frankly, when we talk about time management, we talk about accountability, I think this is where some of us get messed up, because, you know, if you're my accountability partner, Ray, well, it's not my fault. You didn't hold me accountable. You didn't call me enough. You didn't call me right before lunch and go, don't eat that cheeseburger and that ice cream. Because I mean, if you're accountable, then, you know, if I'm accountable to you and you're my accountability partner, well, it's really your fault. So a lot of this tonight is going to be a lot about how we're willing to hold ourselves accountable to ourselves and to our priorities and to our, you know, and to our priorities and those kinds of things.
I love it. So Chris, where should we get started?
Well, let me, I got sort of an overview of things that I want to share with you, and then we'll get done early. Happy to take questions, Q&A, all that kind of stuff. Let's, you know, let's hold it till the end, and I will make sure that we get some time at the end. We're looking at an hour total, right? Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah, we aim to give everybody their time back within the hour, but you know, if everyone
Perfect.
wants to hang out and have a party and eat Victoria's popcorn, shrimp, and potatoes she's making, why not?
Perfect. All right. So let's talk about time management. And again, understanding that's really self-management. I'll use the term time management. It's really interesting because there's so much going on in our lives today that time management is more important than ever, because we have so many options every single day. If you think about it, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, there weren't nearly the kind of options that we have today. 150 years ago, what would that have been? 1880, I think, or 1870, I guess. 1874. Well, in 1874, you didn't have nearly the options. Most people lived rurally, and their options every single day were get up, eat breakfast, and then do I slop the pigs, or do I milk the cows, Or do I till the fields first and then move on to the others? And then I come home, I eat dinner, we light candles, and we read books. I mean, that was really it. But if you think about it, every single one of us has so many options every single day. We could literally all get up tomorrow and say, let's meet in Paris tomorrow night. We could all go down to our local airport, swipe our credit cards, and we could all go to Paris tomorrow. Or we could say, let's go to Morocco, or let's go to New York City. Or, we have the options are unlimited, which is one of the pressures I think that many of us experience, because that's on a macro level. But a micro level, what do I do each and every day to build my real estate business? There's so many things and so many people and so many marketing plans and so many ideas and all these kinds of things that we could do. So when we put some parameters on our priorities, which is really what it's all about, it's about finding the most important things. There's a lot of things you should not be doing as a realtor because they're not money-making activities. We want to stick to money-making activities, things that are going to build our business, things that are going to build our referral network, and things that are going to make us enjoy our job and make more money and help more people. So let's start out by just talking about the cost of poor time management. When you are a poor time manager, when you're always going, oh, I just don't have enough time, and I was supposed to do this, and now it's 9 o'clock at night, and I still have this contract to do. Well, what do you get? You get stressed. You get missed deadlines, you get burnout, you have impact on your personal life and your relationships. Your spouse is like, hey, honey, I've been hoping to spend some time with you. I know, but I mismanaged my time today, and now I got to stay up and I got to write this contract, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things that I think is, and I've been very, very specific about how I've spent my time for years and years. I mean, back in the day when remember the old Franklin Covey? Remember those the books, and they had you filled them every year. You bought a new one, you stuck them in little 3-ring binders. I mean, I have been all about time management for 30 years. It's one of the things that has allowed me to write, for example, my latest book just came out. It's my 25th book. I've done dozens of audio programs, 2,500 speeches all around the world. And people will say to me sometimes, like, for example, books. How have you written 25 books? You know what the answer is? One word at a time, one keystroke at a time. That's how I wrote 25 books. But you have to be able to discipline yourself into the ability to write and have the time and take the time and make that a priority. So for example, if you say, well, there's these new neighborhoods that are up around me, I really want to go door to door and knock on the doors and farm the thing, whatever. I'm just using that as an example. Well, you have to schedule that time. But if you don't ever schedule the time, and here's the other problem, we schedule our time and then we get there and we go, oh, I really don't, I got to do something else, and then that 2-hour block of walking a neighborhood for a new neighborhood that popped up near you, now all of a sudden you're not farming your neighborhood. So it has an impact on relationships. It has an impact on your personal life, stress, missed deadlines, burnout, et cetera. So let's talk about some common time wasters. Well, I think the biggest time waster now, social media. People just messing around on social media, scroll. That's one thing. And I'll tell you, we need to put our phones down. And I'm going to give you, and I know what you're saying, I can't put my phone down, I'm a realtor. Well, I'm going to give you some ideas on why and how you can put your phone down. But, us having our noses stuck in our phones has caused so many problems. I'll tell you a funny story that has happened to Denise and me twice. Denise is my wife. She's on the call with us. Twice in the last couple of years, we've been out, once for a lunch, once for a dinner, and the waiter or waitress, server comes over and says, 1 check or 2. And the first time it happened was at PF Chang's in Phoenix. Those of you, I heard there's some people on Phoenix. It was at the PF Chang's across from the quarter on Scottsdale Road. And somebody says, the gal comes over, she says, 1 check or 2. And I looked at her and I said, well, we're married, but I'm just really curious. Why would you think that we would want 2 checks? I kid you not. And this is so sad. She said, oh, well, you guys didn't have your nose buried in your phones and you were talking. So I just assumed you were friends and not married. Oh, that's just horrible, right? That if you're married, you ignore your spouse at dinner and you're just scrolling on your phone. But we've had other servers say that to us, which tells me, because servers are seeing hundreds and thousands of people coming through and they're noticing who's married and they got their phones scrolled. When Denise and I got married, we got married in a vineyard in Italy, and we did our dinner that night at a single-star Michelin rated restaurant in a little town called Sambuca, Italy. It was outside of Florence. And we were eating dinner that night, and the wine started at about $300 a bottle that night. And we were enjoying our wedding night dinner, and there was a family over there. It was an older couple, 3 of their kids and 3 of their spouses. And so there was 8 people at the table at one, and they had about 4 bottles of wine on the table. I look over, and at one point I look over, and the old man's kind of sitting here like this, just kind of sitting there. Every other person at the table was on their phone in a spectacular restaurant with beautiful wine, all these kinds of things. So social media is a really, it can be a benefit, but it also needs to be managed, and we need to manage ourselves. Excessive meetings, just way too many meetings. I'm just getting to the point where I just don't take many meetings. I need people to let me know that that it's an important meeting that I have to be at. Multitasking, trying to do 2 or 3 things at once. I'm going to give you some strategies on how to handle that in a little bit. Distractions, all sorts of distractions, and different people have different kinds of distractions. But we have to be self-aware enough to understand what those distractions are, and to understand how to create some distance between us and those distractions. A lack of clear priorities, particularly I think for those of you who are just getting started in the real estate business and maybe you haven't had a mentor or things like that. That's why you learn such great things, from Debbie and Ray and all the other realtors who've been in real estate and, in this group and those kinds of things, is understanding what are the priorities of successful realtors. I'll tell you, Chris Stagg, who is my business partner, Denise and my business partner, Chris has made over $700,000 a year for the last 10 years selling just real estate in the golf space. Every now and then there's another one, right? But the average real estate, which puts him in the top 1%, maybe probably the top half of 1% of all real estate agents in the country. But he has very clear priorities. He has very clear guardrails, and you can learn a lot from a guy like Chris. And there's lots of other people who you can learn a lot from. But when you look at people who are wildly successful in the real estate business, they all know what a priority is. It's something that they should be doing, and they cut off the things that they shouldn't be doing. Another time waster is just procrastination. And procrastination is really just about self-management. And procrastination, actually, when I was doing time management seminars, I called it the secret desire of the secret benefits of procrastination, and why we procrastinate, and the benefits we get out of procrastination. But too many people just go, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. And in fact, I have a friend of mine, used to play professional football. He was a quarterback in the NFL for 12 years, I think. Every time I release a new book, he emails me, oh man, that's great. A new book. We really got to get together. I need to write my next book. I think he's got 2 books. And we have been doing this for 30 years. And every single time I tell him, I can set you up. I can teach you how to write a book. You should really be writing books. But he won't make it a priority, and then he just continues to procrastinate. Great guy. I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you do those things. It's just you're never going to get out of your life what you expect to get out of your life if you can't overcome these kinds of things. So how do we shift from that chaos of what I call the tyranny of the urgent? Because frankly, if you don't have priorities and you don't have discipline, you're going to have chaos, and you're going to have the tyranny of the urgent. That means the urgent is your tyrant. The important stuff's going to go, hey, important things over here. And then the urgent says, but you're going to do us right now because we're urgent right now. And you go, oh, I got to go do the urgent stuff, right? Because it's a tyrant. Urgency is a tyrant because it demands your attention right now. So one of the best books, and I'll give you references here. One of the best books that I've ever read on time management was Stephen Covey's book called First Things First. And he talks about there's urgent and not urgent, and there's important and not important. And what you want to do is you want to get to the place where you are doing important things in a non-urgent manner. The worst thing is a not important thing in an urgent manner, right? Those are the things you just don't want to ever spend your time on. But I really like it. So pick it up as an audiobook or a regular book, because it was really profound for me. I rarely find myself in a place of urgency because I will get things done really early. In fact, when I went through college, I may be one of the few people who never pulled an all-nighter. Now, I was in a trimester system, so 3 10-week quarters, I guess, or trimesters. And the first 2 weeks of every quarter, we got a syllabus with every single assignment we were supposed to do over the course of the 10 weeks. And for the first 2 weeks of every semester, I sat in the library and I finished every single assignment for the entire quarter for 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. So then what happened was I put them back in my 3-ring binder. 4th week comes along. I walk in, it's Tuesday morning. He says, assignment 6. I open it up, click, click, hand it in, done. And next day, or Thursday, usually Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as college courses go. And then assignment 7. Oh, click, click, here you go, assignment 7. I never once pulled an all-nighter. And I was always ready for my tests because I did it at the beginning, and then it allowed me the ability to coast the rest of the time. But what that allowed me to do was pay more attention in class, study more, and I got really good grades in college. So how do we shift from the chaos to control? Well, it's mentality, it's mindset, it's discipline. So the importance of a time-conscious mindset. We have to be conscious of time, and we have to be conscious of the importance of time. We have to treat time like a valuable asset. It's an asset, and it's an asset that we have to spend, because you are going to be forced to spend your time. You have to spend your time. Your money, you can put it in a bank. You can't put time in a bank. It gets spent one way or the other. We have to understand that it's valuable. I'm 58 years old now. I never, ever in my life thought I would be 58 years old. And the older you get, the more you start thinking about the really relative importance of time. And so for you young folks, you 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-olds, you're going to get here too. And so my encouragement to you would be to treat it really valuable now. And make sure that you spend every single moment of every single day in things that are going to improve your life, benefit your business, build your relationships, and all of those kinds of things. The other thing that we need to do is a shift from reactive to proactive time management. And I'll give you some examples about that in a little bit, about how you can be proactive about how you spend your time as opposed to just reactive. And reactive is the phone rings and you go, hello, right? We're reacting. Somebody else is saying, I want your time. And you go, here's my time. And people are obsessed with their phones. We're always on our phones. We feel like the phone is our priority, and it might not be your priority. In fact, if you ever want to just see how funny it is, if you're ever in a meeting or, you got people over for the evening or whatever, and your phone's out there and it starts to ring and you ignore it, and you just sit there and you keep talking and the phone's kind of ringing there, eventually, here's what'll happen. You're ignoring it because you're focusing on the other person, right? Here's what the other person's going to do. They're going to start looking at your phone. They're going to, you want to get that? No, I'm talking to you. It'll blow people's brains because everybody is so used to being, a slave to their phone. And what we need to do is we need to control our phone, not our phone controlling us. So building discipline is habits. We've got to get into habits. We choose things to do, and we're gonna again talk about those when we get into more of the practical. I'm laying the foundation for us right now. We're getting into some real practical kinds of stuff, but you have to establish habits. What are your habits? Denise and I, we have a habit. Every single morning we get up. We usually wake up kind of about the same time. We go to bed early. I mean, sometimes really early. Like if you really want to know when you're getting old, it's when you go to bed at 8:15. But we get up early, and we usually get up. We make some coffee. we usually read a chapter from the Bible. When it's cold out or in the winter, we light a candle. We read from the Bible. We'll usually read a book, sometimes a marriage book. We'll read a chapter or, a few pages, whatever. We talk together and we prepare ourselves for the day. That's how we start every single day. When I get up into my office, we both work from home. I have certain disciplines that I do every single day because they're habits, and it's the habits that are going to get you through the day. Now, time blocking and setting boundaries. So time blocking, and this is the first real dive into really practical kinds of things. One of the things that they found in the research around time management is that every time you change your activity, it takes time to readjust. And then if you have to come back to something and you're done with this activity, it takes even more time to readjust back. So let's say you're answering emails and the phone rings. Now you jump on the phone. Now you're talking on the phone and you're, going around and around and da, 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 and then you go back. I've read in my research that it takes you about 8 minutes to put that phone out and to be fully 100% engaged again on your email. So one of the things that you want to do is you want, to the degree that you can, you want to time block an hour or 2 hours to do the things that you want to do. So I have in my calendar, if you were to look at my calendar, you will see I just take two hours for some of my things that I do every single day. And I put it all across. People call me up or they email me, hey, do you got time at 11 o'clock? No, I don't. I already have another meeting. Well, they don't know what that meeting is. For years and years, early on in my career, I went to the gym from 9 until 11 every morning. I would work from 6 until 9. Then I went to the gym from 9 to 11. And then I worked from 11 to 5. And then I was done. And if you discipline yourself and you do those kinds of things, you're going to be able to walk out the door at 5 o'clock. And I mean, obviously, unless you have an open house or you got to go meet some people or whatever in the evening. But when you time block, you're going to get so much more done. And when I'll tell you about a friend of mine from Washington State. I'm from Washington State. She and I went to high school together. She's been making $1 million a year in real estate. She's one of the top real estate agents in the state of Washington for 30 years. She's made a fortune in real estate. And I remember after we reconnected, we kind of drifted apart for, 12 or 13 years after high school. And then we reconnected and we've got a friend group now and we all hang out and talk and we do, when we go back out to Seattle, we get our friend group back together. But I remember I called her and she said, and I got her voicemail. And I think I called her at like 11:30 in the morning or something like that. And I never forget her voicemail. She said, hi, this is Debbie, da, 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 such and such real estate. And she said, please leave me a message and please know that I return all of my voicemails between 10 and 11 in the morning and 3 and 4 in the afternoon. And as a time management person, I thought that is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen, because the phone will make you its slave if you let the phone take, because what it is every time the phone rings, it's somebody else going, I don't care what you're doing right now. You could be doing the most important thing in the world, but I want you to talk to me. And then we go, hello. And we talk to them. So what I loved about that was it let me know that I will get to talk to her today, but she's going to call me between 3 and 4, right? I return all my phone calls between 10 and 11 and 3 and 4. And I just thought it was brilliant because I recognize the grouping aspect. So now if she has, let's call it 12 phone calls to do, some in the 10 o'clock hour, some in the 3 o'clock hour, instead of spreading those 12 across the whole day where what she's doing is being broken up and she has to, make these adjustments, she's in control of when those phone calls happen. Now, again, you can say, if this is an emergency, send me a text and I'll get back to you sooner if I possibly can, or something like that. Because I know that people tend to like to make the excuses. Well, I don't know how important my stuff is. Well, I kind of do. I've spent a lot of time. In fact, I'm not bragging when I tell you this, but as I'm talking to you, I see my text come in. I just got a text from a U.S. senator, and I was like, I'm looking at that, and I know so many people who are performing at the highest levels. And one of the things that I see amongst people who are performing at the highest levels, they manage themselves as time passes by. They understand what priorities are, they understand what they need to be doing, and they get it done because they discipline themselves. So let's talk about tools and techniques then for commanding your time or managing your time. The first one, I'm going to use an analogy of your finances. Now, many of you, early on in your career, maybe later on, you sat down with a financial planner and you said, hey, we want to make sure that we're prepared for retirement. We want to make sure that we have enough money and we're saving and all those kinds of things. What do we need to do? Or maybe you've taken a class or a course or, whatever. Well, there's two things that you should do initially. The first one is what I would call a time inventory. Now, let's again make that analogy to finances. When you sit down with a financial planner, somebody who's going to help you with your money, the first thing they're going to say is, where are you spending your money right now? And you go, oh, I don't spend much money going out. Oh, no, we hardly ever go out. Then you look at your credit card bill and you go, holy cow, I spent $1,000 going out for dinner last month. Or, or I spent this or that or, whatever. I spent $400 on clothes, or I spent, $500 on this or $200 on that. And a lot of it, we just don't know where it goes. So the first thing you want to do is take a time inventory. I'm going to tell you how to do this. And I did this for the first time in 1990. Because I read a book called The Time Trap. I can't remember his last name. I think it was Mackenzie was his last name, but it was called The Time Trap. I don't even know if it's still in print. But I sat down and I found out a few really interesting things about myself. The first one was I worked 111 hours that week. There's 168 hours in a week, and I worked 111. What I did was, and this is what you do, you have to write down every single thing you do for a week. If you can do it for 2 weeks, that's even better. And then, so you say, okay, 20 minutes on the phone with Joe, 45 minutes at lunch, 15 minutes on the treadmill, whatever you do, write it down. And then the following Sunday, sit down with your journal and add it all up. 20 minutes on the phone, 15 minutes on the phone, an hour on the phone, 12 minutes on the phone, 10 minutes on the phone. And then you get to the end, you go, wow, I spent 4 hours on the phone this week. And then you go, okay, 10 minutes on email, 30 minutes on email, 15 minutes. And you go, wow, I spent 6 hours writing emails 45 minutes for lunch, 30 minutes for breakfast, 45 minutes for dinner. And all of a sudden you go, wow, I spent 5 hours at lunches this week. That's the very first thing you want to do, is you want to sit down and find out where your time is going. Then you can be ruthless about, let's say you find out, holy cow, I'm spending 15 hours a week eating. What would happen if I could condense all of my eating into 10 hours? That's 5 hours that I would get back every single week just on meals. Now you might go 5 hours. Okay, yeah, that's what could I do with 5 hours? But here's where it gets really interesting. 5 hours, we're going to give you 2 weeks for vacation. So we're only going to multiply by 50. That's 250 hours over the course of a year. Now let's divide that by a 40-hour work week, and all of a sudden you're already getting it. That's 6 weeks of your life eating. Just the extra time eating, let alone you get into phones and you get into all the other kinds of things. So once you get an inventory, you'll be shocked. You will be shocked at where your time goes. And I think that's really important for us to really get a good grip on it, because people do it all the time with finance. They go, I had no idea I spent so much money on, whatever, XYZ. Then you want to get into budgeting. And just like finances, you say, well, instead of 15 hours a week in meals, I'm going to do 10 hours a week in meals. Instead of 6 hours doing emails, I'm going to do 5 hours of emails. Instead of this, I'm going to do that. And you can budget yourself, and then you put those into your calendar. Everything should go into your calendar. People say, hey, can you meet me Thursday at 3? Yep. Hold on a minute. Bam, bam, bam. Yep. It's in my calendar. And I forget about it. And then every night before I go to bed, I look at my calendar the next day and I go, oh, yeah. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. What if you have to prepare for that Thursday meeting? Well, if it's a Monday and I have a meeting on Thursday and I have to prepare for it, what do you think I do? Well, first thing I say is, how much do I have to prepare for it based on my sort of estimation? I will put in the day before on Wednesday or the day before on Tuesday, and I'll block out however much time I need, 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever. And I put prepare for Thursday's meeting at 3:00. Forget about it. Now, let's say this is Monday. Can you meet me Thursday at 3? Yes. And then I put in on Wednesday, half an hour prepare. I forget about it till I get to Wednesday and I go, oh, I got to prepare for that meeting tomorrow. And now I've grouped it and I'm controlling my calendar, not my calendar controlling me. The power of prioritization. Prioritization is what is the most important. Every single thing you do should be about what is the most important thing that you should be doing now. And that might be different for everybody, but I would suggest as you deal with your real estate that, that it is things that are going to produce money for you, things that are going to build a long-term successful business for you, things that are going to allow you to put things on autopilot for you. Those kinds of things are prioritizations. Now, one of the things we have to learn to do is to say no, because the key to saying yes to the important things is saying no to the non-important things. I remember back when I was giving time management seminars, I'll never forget it as long as I live. I was doing a seminar down at the WAC, the Washington Athletic Club in downtown Seattle. And I was talking about no, saying yes, and these kinds of things. This woman came up to me afterwards. She said, I solved that problem. And I said, really? How'd you solve it? She said, I say no to everything. And I said, boy, bet people love you. She said, no, I say no to everything in the moment. So she gave me an example. She said, the other day, we were done with some meeting at school, and she was mom, some meeting at school, and somebody came up to me and said, I don't remember her name, Sue, hey, we're putting on this fundraiser. Would you be willing to help us do the fundraiser to raise money for the trip, whatever? And she said, oh, you know what? I'm really not going to be able to help with that. I'm really sorry. She said, no. But she says, here's what I do. I tell everybody no. And then when I'm out of the situation, because remember, tyranny of the urgent. Well, here's this person, you want this person to like you, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I can do that. Well, then you find out that it's a burden, you don't want to, you can't, whatever. Now you got to go back and go, oh, I really can't, I'm really sorry. And then you feel worse because you were feeling bad because you were going to tell him no, but you told him yes. Now you feel bad because you told him yes and you can't or don't want to do it. But she said something really interesting. She said, I go, and when I'm out of the situation, I really think and pray through the opportunity. And she said, and then a lot of times I'll call them back. So Sue picks up the phone. She calls Martha and she says, hey, Martha, I've been thinking about your request of me to help with the school fundraiser. I've been thinking more about it. I'd love to help. Do you still need some help? Do you know what she never hears from people? No. You told us no, we don't want your help anymore. So it's really a fascinating thing. Now, I don't know that you need to tell everybody no, but I thought it was really interesting that her default answer was no, because you can always then get yourself out of the situation, and then you can do that. Now, again, there's certain times you don't want to. Hey, can you represent me on a sale? No. Okay, we don't want to do that. So, I mean, we're using common sense here. There are productivity apps that you can use. Trello, Asana, Google Calendar, all those kinds of things, Slack, this, that, and the other thing. In fact, one of the things that bothers me is it's like everybody has their own little channel that you're supposed to use. You're working with one group and they're like, we're on Trello, which is my publisher. Then you got somebody else and they're like, we're on Slack. And okay. And then we're on Teams and we're on this. And there's a lot of them. Pick yours that works for you, that's easy for you to understand. Automate as much as you possibly can. Delegate as much as you possibly can, eliminate repetitive tasks. We have an amazing virtual assistant, a gal that we met probably 7 years ago in the Philippines. Great English. It's back when we first started, I think it was $6 an hour. Now it's $8 an hour. She speaks great English. She's a lovely lady. We actually send her Christmas presents and things like that, and we really enjoy her. But she can do a lot of stuff for us, and she actually does. Whatever you have as a weakness, you should be delegating to somebody else. So eliminating distractions. What are the things that distract you? If there's something in your home and you work from your home and there's something that distracts you, maybe you need to change the room that you're working in, or maybe you need to go rent a little little office space or something like that. We have to get away from the direct distractions, but we have to understand what our distractions are. What are your distractions? And again, different things for different people, but we have to become self-aware. I think the key to success in life starts with self-awareness. We have to be able to know ourselves. We have to be able to understand ourselves, and we have to be able to admit our weaknesses, and we have to be able to live out of our strengths. Digital detox is another thing that I've actually been thinking, and again, I control my phone pretty well, but I've actually been thinking, I wonder what would happen if I just took a day, didn't even answer my phone, didn't even pick my phone up. What would happen? Now, again, I get it. I'm in a different business than you folks are as realtors, but what would happen if you just didn't answer your phone? If you didn't scroll? One of the things that I find just with scrolling is or even playing games. Sometimes I'll get on and I have a game or whatever, and it kind of takes my brain off of everything else. But then don't you see those games like in your head? You're like, or you keep hearing the things that you were listening to, and it goes out further than just the moment in time in which you are on the digital on the digital phone. So we have to take a look, like I mentioned, with time budgeting and time inventory. We have to review our schedules. I would suggest that you review your schedule at least once a week. I would suggest Sunday evenings. If you want to do it even more so, Sunday evening, Wednesday evening, really good time looking at the next 3 days, looking at the last couple days. What did I do well? What did I not do well? But weekly reflection to adjust and realign your priorities. And I'm kind of really just talking within real estate, but many of you have spouses and children that you also have to put in and budget that time to be able to spend time with your spouse, date night, taking the kids to all the practices and all those things. I mean, man, I've spent thousands of hours at practices and those kinds of things. But I also built a successful career while I was coaching my son's Little League football, going to my daughter's gymnastics events, and then of course our last 2 daughters were dancers, and going to their dance recitals and their dance competitions and all those kinds of things. I think celebrating small wins is another good thing. When you're finding yourself being successful, celebrate. When you're disciplining yourself and you're really finding that you're having success in your time and self-management, is create small wins. And I'll give you an example. When I was at my fittest, and I'm not too terribly unfit now, but when I was in my fittest, I had a gym, a guy that managed the gym, or he actually owned the gym. He said, Chris, if you'll do this 2 hours a week, I don't care what night you pick, eat whatever you want for 2 hours. If you want to eat a steak and baked potato followed by a pizza followed by a gallon of ice cream, I don't care. 2 hours a week. It's not going to kill you. In fact, he said, this was kind of funny. He said, in fact, what it'll do is it'll spike your insulin really fast. And then your body will go, whoa, we've got an insulin spike. We got to readjust here. But what he was saying is that 2 hours was a way to create a small win for yourself. Hey, I've watched what I've eaten for the last 166 hours. I'm going to take these 2 hours and I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to, let myself have a glass of wine, or I'm going to, let myself have a dish of ice cream, or, whatever. You can do the same things. And I think we really ought to reward ourselves because, as they say, all work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy, or in The Shining makes you, start killing people. And we don't want anybody getting killed because you've become a dull boy because you work too much. So we need to also find some flexibility and some adaptation, how to adjust when things don't go as planned. What do you do when things don't go as planned? And the reality is things rarely go as they are planned. One of the things that I say all the time is no problem, no problem, no problem. You will hear me, you will see, if you were interacting with me, you would hear me, see me text it, see me email it. I say it, see it all the time. No problem. Why? Because it's a mindset that says, I'm not going to get wrapped around the axle because something didn't go exactly the way that I thought it was going to go. It's no problem. I'm bigger than that problem. I have the skill set to deal with that problem. You have, you've already come to me and we're going to work together. No problem. We have to be flexible. And part of the problem, if you're not flexible and you're not able to adapt, is then you become frustrated, and then they become frustrated, and then you start faltering, and then you say the wrong things, you do the wrong things, you throw your hands in the air, you quit, all these kinds of things. But learning to pivot without losing control is so, so very important at this time. Just a few other kinds of things. Work-life balance, and then we'll take some questions. Happy to answer questions. You can give me sort of specific examples, and happy to discuss that as well. But a work-life balance, the older I get, the more I realize that work isn't really what life is all about. It's a great part of life, and it can be really enjoyable if you're in a profession that you enjoy. But the old adage of your work partner isn't going to be there on your deathbed, it's going to be your family, is really true. We need to have this work-life balance, whether it's work and family, or whether it's, if you're single or whatever, work and hobbies, or work and exercise, whatever that other thing is. Everything has a time and a season and a place. And what I have found with focusing on time and self-management is that the more you manage your time, the easier it is to have work-life balance. Because part of the reason your spouse and your children and your life gets pushed out is because you're not disciplining yourself. What could be a 7 or an 8 hour day becomes a 12-hour day. Well, now you've taken 5 hours from your family, or 5 hours from your exercise, or 5 hours from some hobby or some charity that you like to be involved with, or whatever. We want to make sure that we have that work-life balance. I have Denise and I have a friend, truly one of the most famous people in America, a news person. And we were spending some time with him last December, and we were just talking. We had a few hours with him. And he just said, the older I get, man, it's just my family. It's just my family. It's my wife. It's my kids. It's my closest friends. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And Denise and I it was really kind of profound. And coming from a guy who teaches time management seminars, I agreed with it, and I've done it. But it was just really interesting to hear it from somebody who is extraordinarily busy person. An extraordinarily busy person. But you know what? One of the things is he hasn't had a TV for 20 something years. So take the average person watches like 7 hours of TV a day. I think the average person in America watches like 7 hours of TV. But even if you're just watching a few hours of news at night, let's say you watch 3 hours of news and your favorite show every night. Well, you multiply that by 365. You're talking about over 1,000 hours of television a year. Now, again, let's take 1,000 hours, divide by 40, which is a work week, 50 weeks a year watching television. What could you be doing with that? And so I just thought it was really interesting. And it's something that Denise and I really have given a lot of thought to, and we've sort of narrowed our circle, because it's really about our family and about our close friends and our children and our grandchildren and those kinds of things. We work and we find fulfillment in work, but we also want to make sure that at the end of our life, no matter how long our life goes, that we really have this ability to have those who are closest to you and the most important to you, to be able to have that kind of relationship that you want to have with them. Protecting personal time and scheduling non-negotiable time. I told you I used to box out 2 hours a day for the gym. Well, maybe you just need an hour, or you need 30 minutes to just read or whatever. You know what I do almost every single day at lunchtime? Denise will laugh because she's in the other office. She usually hears it. Says, "Can you turn the TV down a little bit?" I come down and I make myself lunch, and I watch an episode of Bobby Flay, Beat Bobby Flay. That's what I do for lunch almost every single day. But you know what that does at 11:30 or 12 o'clock every day? I get to leave my office. I go downstairs. I put everything away, and it gives me a break looking at something, learning. I love to cook. I call myself Chrissy Slay, or Crispy Slay. My middle initial is P, so crispy is kind of a food term. I've really gotten into cooking. And so I take some me time in the middle of my day, I bet at least 3 or 4 days a week. And I'll come down and I will just watch an episode of Beat Bobby Flay, and I enjoy it. And as soon as that episode's over, I clean my dishes up, put them away, back up to work. And it's given me sort of a mind refresh. It's given me a break. It's allowed me to then I come back in clear and focused and ready to go again. So as we close, I want to tell you about something. I mentioned that Chris Stegg is my partner. Denise and I own a company with Chris. If you, and it really is a time management thing. It's one of the reasons why it fits so well with this is one of the things that you can spend a ton of time on as a realtor is leads, chasing leads, right? One of the first things they tell you to do is buy leads, get yourself on a leads list. And so you're buying the same leads that everybody else is buying. And you get an email and it says, here's 50 people. So what do you start doing? Hi, Joe, I'm Susie, and I work for XYZ Realty, and I'd really love to, and, making 50 phone calls or sending 50 emails or all these kinds of things, chasing leads. But here's the real problem is 17 other realtors got those 50 people too. And now you're competing against them and this, that, the other thing. One of the things that is going to save you a ton of time, a ton of energy, and it's going to allow you to build the kind of business that you want to build. Now, my partner, Chris Stegg from Austin, Texas, has built that huge real estate business that he's built. And he has built it because he understands these principles. He understands how to focus in on things. He understands all those, but he also built it by building a referral network. So referrals are better than leads. Infinitely better than leads, because you have to chase leads. Now, here's the other thing. Let's imagine that somebody says, hey, I'm selling my house. And his friend says, oh, let me give you some real estate agents. And that guy reaches out to 5 of his real estate agents, and you all call his friend Joe. Hey, Joe, like to talk to you about this, that, selling your house, whatever. That's a referral. If you just buy, it's not really a lead. I mean, it's kind of a lead, but it's a referral. It's a warm lead, which is a referral. A lead is just sort of a random kind of thing. Well, if you end up going to a house and there's 7 other realtors who are trying to pursue that lead, and you're all giving listing, doing the listings and stuff, who holds the listing presentation? Who holds the power? The homeowner holds the power, because the 7 of you are begging the homeowner, and the homeowner views it that way. Oh, well, tell me, why should I pick you? Why should I pick you? Oh, and they hold all the power. However, back to our other situation, let's say that somebody says, oh man, I need to sell my house. My spouse is getting transferred. We got to sell the house and get out of here. Do you know any real estate agent? You got to call my friend Chris. Chris is the best. You guys live on a golf course. Chris is the guy. You got to call Chris. In fact, I'll have Chris call you. No, it's okay. Give me his phone number. I'll call Chris. Joe calls Chris. What does he say? He says, my friend Tom said, you are the guy and I should list my house with you. So when can I get you over here and we can get this thing going? That's the difference between a lead and a referral. A referral sets you up to control the relationship as a realtor. You don't have to come hat in hand and prove yourself to the lead. Instead, you have borrowed the influence of their friend or their family member or whatever who said, Chris is the guy. Susie's the guy. You got to go with this person. I mean, you'd be dumb to not use my friend Chris. They call up, when can we get this started? Because my friend Tom told me you're the person. So as Chris built out his referral business down there in Austin and built that business into the business that has, as I mentioned, averaged about $700,000 a year in commissions for a decade or more, he realized that he needed to build a referral network, and he was building a referral network. And we thought, what if we built something for real estate agents to build their own referral network? And so what we did was, many of you, I'm sure, have heard of BNI, Business Networking International. Nothing wrong with BNI. BNI is great. Ivan Missner's done a great job. He's built out a spectacular company. But I will tell you this, one of the downfalls to BNI is you just have all these people who you're probably never going to refer. I mean, if you think about it, a BNI group has, high powered, business attorney and a woman who sells essential oils from her basement, and everything in between, and so you end up maybe not necessarily referring. So we said, what if we built a referral network business for people who are in the home business? So we came up with something called ROI Expert Advisors. And ROI obviously stands for return on investment, but for us, it stands for real estate outside inside. So real estate is everybody that is specific to real estate, specific, like a surveyor, an inspector, a real estate agent, a title, a mortgage, those people specific to real estate. O is anybody that works outside of the home, a landscaper, a gutter person, a window person, a garage door person, an arborist, an outside painter, those kinds of things. I, then you've already figured it out, stands for inside the house, electricians, plumbers, painters, videographers, all those kinds of things. What if we found 35 professions that all work on or in homes? Now, when you're the electrician and you're in the home and you notice that something's not working, something else isn't working in the home, you can say to that person, hey, I noticed you mentioned you needed a plumber. I've got a really great plumber. I meet with him every week in a meeting. Would you like me to give you his name and number? Oh, that would be great. Would you have him call me? Now you go, hey, Joe, I met with Susie Schmo. You need to call Susie. She said she's waiting for a call. She needs you to come in and fix, some plumbing. So we started ROI Expert Advisors, and what we do is we help real estate agents build their own ROI groups. We have a 6-week launch plan. We do all the training. There's a small training charge of $247. However, if you build a group of 10 or more people in 60 days, we refund you that money. So if you take it seriously and you say, okay, I'm on those calls, I'm going to learn how to do this, I'm going to take the action steps, you give me a fully, detailed 60-day plan, I'm going to do those things, you get your money back. Now, all of a sudden, you have 10, 20, 30 people who are referring you business. Now, we've had some amazing success stories. One of the first groups we ever started was in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. The agent had sold 12 homes the year before without any sort of a networking group. The first year of his ROI group, he sold 17 homes just from his ROI group. We had a group out of Puyallup, Washington. They had a roofer who 2 months of last year, in 2 separate months, made over $100,000 just from his ROI group. We're seeing people, we've got a really great booming group up in Duluth, Minnesota right now. They've just passed over the $100,000 worth of referrals passed. We teach you how to track them. We teach you how to build your group. We teach you how to build your core group. We have one of the things that we do every week as part of our groups is, as a personal professional development speaker, I create a video. Every single week, you have a back office. You can log into that back office. You can watch a 3 to 5 minute video from me. Every member of your group will also get the video. Now you don't even have to control the discussion at your meeting, because you can say, hey, who watched the video on, who watched the video from Chris this last week? What did you guys think? And I always, you throw out some questions and those kinds of things as well. So we really feel like we've built a better mousetrap specifically for realtors and people who are in the home business. And so we would love to talk to you about that. I know Ray and Debbie are going to tell you more about that and how to get signed up and how to follow us. It's pretty simple, actually. You go to roiexpertadvisors.com is where we're found. But I think Ray and Debbie probably have some links for you as well. So in a conclusion, call to action, first of all, prioritize, plan, eliminate distractions. You want encouragement to start implementing your changes immediately. Don't go, it's interesting, I'm going to have to think about that. Start being ruthless with your calendar tomorrow. Start saying no to things tomorrow. Start getting rid of the urgent things and the unimportant things tomorrow. Start focusing your time on the important things tomorrow. Very, very important that you get started as soon as possible. closing thought, when you take control of your time, you take control of your life. And I think it's really important for us to understand that ultimately it really does come down to us. The first thing you will do to set yourself up for success is to say, I'm responsible. I'm responsible. Nobody else responsible. The clock isn't responsible. I'm responsible. And the beauty and the power of taking responsibility is, yes, you may not be in a place where you want to be. So you kind of got to be humble and go, well, I'm just not. But the empowerment that comes from taking responsibility. Because if where I'm at today is based on all the decisions I've made up until now, if that's true, then it's also true that whatever decisions I start making from this point forward will create the life of my dreams. So we would love to talk to you more about ROI expert advisors and see if we can help you do that kind of thing. But we wanted to share some just practical time management tips. And Ray and Debbie, I'm happy to take questions or anything that you think might be beneficial at this point.
Amazing. Okay, guys. Chris Stagg, I would love for you to jump in, talk a little bit about the ROI platform, just a couple minutes about it, and share some success stories. Like, we've watched you guys kind of grow, and that's why you guys are here. So we're super excited to help support that. And then we can just go into Q&A.
Well, thanks, Ray. Chris, thank you so much. This is truly a gift. This is a gift that we have created for the agent. The agent that executes, the agent that takes action. That's, in anything, it's all about action. Words are great, but action is most important. You will never, ever, ever be without. In an election year, in a season where the interest rates are sky high, where there's less listings, more buyers back and forth, this is an opportunity because word of mouth is king. It's the very best. It is the greatest form of advertising. The leads, as Chris was talking about, leads are unqualified. Referrals are pre-qualified. And so we're not in the real estate industry. We're in the relationship industry. It's all about how many connections. So for the well-established, for those that are connectors, those that already have an existing network of people that Chris mentioned, it's about putting them in the same room together, coming alongside one another, partnering. That's why we call ourselves partners and not members, because partners means that you're coming alongside one another. You're helping one another. You're serving one another. And so we've created about 70% of my annual revenue year after year after year after year comes from my referral network. I don't lead generate anymore. I referral generate. See, most people talk about leads. Where's the next leads? Where's the next trinket? Where's the next lead thing? We very rarely talk about nurturing and finding, asking questions to gain more referrals. And so ROI Expert Advisors was really built on how to attract more and chase less. So I've written a whole course on. You guys can go to that link there and book a call with me. I'm very accessible. I respond very quickly. Book a call with me and let's have a conversation on things to how to attract more and chase less. And this is what I've done year after year after year after year. And so when people are going like this in their business and they're wondering about the market, I've created my own market. And so when you create your own market, then things will become, things will start to create a bigger picture in your life, and you'll have an unwavering focus on what you are to do. This is your market. It's not the market, it's your market. And so we've created roiexpertadvisors.com. You're welcome to book a call with me. You can email me if you prefer, but I prefer a phone conversation. I like hearing your voice. And so, Ray, I'm happy to come on and just share with you more about the model. But Chris said it best. We have created the framework. Anyone can do this on their own, but it's just like a Chick-fil-A or a mom and pop chicken shop. It's like we have the system, we have the support, we have the branding, we have the content, we have the structure. You can create that on your own, or you can come alongside with us, and we will help you build something extraordinary so that you can have a banner year in 2025.
And actually now is a great time to get involved because remember, we give you a 60-day plan. So you could be working that plan, building your group for a launch in January. You could spend November and December. And again, it's bite-sized kind of things that we give you, a week-by-week plan. So it's actually a really great time to do it, because, you know, you won't be starting your group in the middle of Thanksgiving and Christmas, but you can be preparing to start early in 2025.
And we say 60 days, but guys, it really is for the producing agent, for the go-getter, the one that can see the bigger picture here. This is a long-term strategy. It's not a short-term anything. You're building a long-term strategy plan. And so what we're seeing is those that are the most successful really build out of groups of 10 or more within 30 days. I mean, you can build a group. Several of our group leaders have built out their groups to 15 to 20 more. Average groups are around 22 partners per group. It's exclusivity. So there's one category per profession. And so my flooring person is about 30% of my year. Home automation, another one. My residential cleaning company, they send me anywhere from 5 to 6 referrals a year. I don't have to work for that. They just introduce me, and I don't have to work through 4 or 5 other agents that they might be talking to. You've got to call Chris Stegg. In fact, you know what? Let me put you in touch with Chris. And this is how. And so we teach you on how to have those conversations, what to ask. I'm a great connector, but I'm also a great. I love to ask really great questions, and so we teach you how to ask those great questions to bring about greater responses. Okay. What else, Ray? What else can I say? And you guys have the link there. I want to be respectful of your time. But first things first is go and book a call with me or sign up, take action, and know that we will be in touch with you to help guide you along the way.
Chris and Chris, thanks for that. I want to leave with 2 things. One of them is going to be Q&A, and the other one's going to be, if you're going to try to manage your time or manage your attention, because that's what consumes your time, you need to find a way to work better. And one of the reasons we partnered with Chris and Chris over at ROI is it's a better mousetrap. It's a better option. You need to attract more and chase less. And this is a vehicle to help you do that. So I hope you guys spend a couple minutes, take a look at it, and at least book a call with these guys who are volunteering their time. Let's just open it to Q&A. Guys, raise your hand, unmute, ask questions, whether it's about time, whether it's about their group, their system. Let's just have at it.
So before anybody else raises their hand, I'm going to say, Carrie, are you already an ROI member, group leader? She has been cheering you guys on in comments in the group the whole time. Carrie Lukens, unmute yourself.
Debbie. Hi, everybody. I am not currently an ROI expert advisors member, but the value in taking this action and having these relationships is what will drive your business forward.
Excellent, excellent. And so there is a question here in the chat that I see that says, are there any monthly fees besides the fee you pay for the framework?
Yes,
Great
there
question.
are.
Yes.
Yep. You want to answer that, Chris?
Yeah, it's either $50 a month or $500 annually, and that's ongoing. And so with that, it takes care of all the support, all of the branding. We have a Kajabi community, which is like a Facebook, but it's our own community. There's referral opportunities. We also working on some things in the near future for some CE, for some continuing education, for some of our other categories that we're working on. And so it's a value add, but it's an investment. I find it rather bizarre that people will spend. I was on the phone call the other day with an agent. She was spending $5,200 a month for Zillow Flex. I mean, that's crazy. But for $500, would you rather have 500 leads a month, or would you rather have 5 warm teed up referrals a month? And that's what ROI provides, and it's for $500 annually. Yes.
And so that $500 annually is for the realtor or the group leader, is that correct? And what about the rest of the members that join? What did the members pay?
Yeah, so what we do is we provide a box of wow. This is a welcome kit, and we put together a welcome kit of just goodies. Chris wrote a book with Jim Rome called 12 Pillars. We also have a lanyard. We also have a Yeti type mug. We have a journal, branded journal, and a pen, and that shows up on your front doorstep. You don't pay for that. That's within your training as a group leader. But our other partners, like your plumber or like your lender or like your estate attorney or your other professions, they're going to pay a sign on fee plus they're either $50 a month or $500 annually, and that's just a one time fee, and that provides their box of wow. So they're paying the 50.
Let me also just sort of make you think
Yeah.
about something here. BNI is anywhere between $75 and $100 a month. And so we save you about $750 a year over a BNI, just specifically. We actually have a comparison sheet at our website. But here's the other thing. We wanted to price it in such a way that the lowest paid person in your group would make money with one referral, would get all their money back. So if you're a real estate agent, you sell a $500,000 house with 3%, right? That's $15,000. You have now paid for 30 years of an ROI membership with one referral out of your group, 30 years. Well, okay, what about a landscaper? He gets $50 every time he shows up and mows the yard. And a landscaper in Minnesota, right? A 12-week work, where you're mowing yards for maybe 12 weeks a year. Now, the dirty little secret is the lawnmowers in Minnesota. I went to college in Minnesota. The lawnmower guys in Minnesota, they just go and they become snowblowers during the winter.
Right.
But
Right.
let's just assume for a minute that the guy says $50 a month, that's $600 a year. Okay, well, you got a 12-week mow season. And you get $50 each, one referral to mow 12 times, you've paid for your ROI thing. So we wanted it to really truly be a return on investment. And that's why we priced it. We really actually thought that through. What would be the price at which the person who makes the least amount of money in the group on one referral would pay for their entire year? And that's how we came up with $50.
Excellent. I don't see any other questions in the chat and nobody has their hand up. Is there anyone who wants to unmute and ask away? All right, I'm dropping the link in the chat one more time, just so it's fresh at the bottom there and you guys all have it. Ray, anything else?
Yeah, just a quick poll. Does anybody run their own group right now locally in their community? Anybody? Trina? Okay, awesome. Betty, we see your hand up. Unmute and share, please.
Okay, hi. I
Hi.
don't think I get the concept. We have to lead groups and I see it's EXP. So what is that? What are we doing? I didn't get the concept.
Well,
yeah.
it's not an EXP program.
Yeah.
Chris happens to be with EXP. What it is it's a weekly meeting and it's up to 35 people. You gather together. You can do a coffee in the morning before work. You can do a lunch. We've actually had groups that meet in the evenings. If they want to meet in the evenings, totally fine too, But what you do is you put those, however many people, let's call it 20 people, put them in a room every single week. We give you actually the weekly the weekly meeting schedule. So you show up, if you're the realtor and you're the host, you don't want to host all of them. You want to find other people who are leaders, let them host as well, take some of the burden off of you. And every week we have certain things that you do, including you usually have, you introduce your visitors, let them tell about their business. You have 2 or 3 people who stand up and take 2 minutes. I'm Joe Schmo. I'm an auto mechanic. I've been in business since 1987. I focus on, whatever, right? Well, that wouldn't be in an ROI group because an auto mechanic isn't one of our groups, but you know what I'm talking about, right? They stand up, they give a little 2-minute thing. Then we also do what we call a focused speaker. That can be somebody from the community if you want to invite a legislator or somebody who's written a book or something like that. But typically every week it's going to be one of the members of your group. So let's say you have a roofer in your group. And the roofer is going to give the value add or the focused spotlight speech that instead of 2 minutes where he just stands up and says, I'm Joe the roofer, and, I've been in business for 30 years and I work on tile roofs or, whatever. he might stand up and say, here's 5 things you can do to make your roof last longer. Number 1, number 2, and then they kind of give something value oriented. Real estate agent might stand up when it's your turn to give the 10-minute talk. You might stand up and say 7 things you have to do before you list your home. You might have a wealth manager in your group who might do, 5 things everybody has to think about and take care of for retirement. So everybody gets a chance to share their business, but then we have some featured stuff. And then of course we have the discussion time around the personal professional development. And we encourage people, keep it to an hour. If people want to hang out afterwards, great. People want to come early and talk, great. But people are working hard. They've got limited time. We encourage people to make it a 1-hour meeting once a week. And what you end up having is you have a sales team of 20 people who are out and about. One of the things Chris didn't mention that comes in the box of wow, we actually give you, it's a tear-off sheet, and it's all the professions, right? So your electrician is there. He's standing in the kitchen with the person who's about to pay him, the homeowner, and he peels off one of these sheets, puts it on the thing and says, hey, by the way, will you take a look at this little tear sheet here? And if you have any of these professions that you think you're going to need in the next 90 days, would you just put a check next to those? Because I belong to a leads referral group. And I would love to refer some of these people. They're really, really great. And then what does the homeowner do, right? They've just paid him to do the electrician. They go, oh, wow, that toilet upstairs, I need to get that fixed. Oh, and yeah, we need to paint that second bedroom. And there's the painter. And then they hand you that sheet. You go to your ROI meeting and you go, hey, I got one for the plumber. I got one for the painter. And we actually give you that sheet that every one of the members can use to pick up referrals while they're out talking to homeowners. And it works very, very well. We've had a lot of people that have made a lot of money doing those things.
Can I say something here?
Thanks for
Tony.
sharing that.
Hey, my name's Tony. I can speak for probably every realtor on here that over the last few years, contractors didn't have time for us. And now things are slowing down and they want our business. So I could see if we were in a group with or plumbers, electricians, whatever, they'd put us at the top of their list. And my office, by the way, is 15 miles from Puyallup.
Oh, really?
Where are you at in Washington?
Kent.
Oh yeah, I was born and raised in Seattle. I graduated from Mount Si High School out in Snoqualmie.
Yep, North Bend.
Yeah, North Bend, Snoqualmie.
Went to Tyee, so.
Ooh, boy. We're getting along already.
Yes, we are.
And it's important to know that we go through a training. So you're going to pay for training. We tell you a step-by-step process on how to successfully launch a group. I mean, you're looking for people that are working not in their business, but on their business, or might have a desire to work on, and they're transitioning out of their business. So these are 1-hour business appointments. I built my business the first 2.5 years on open houses. I did 1 open house a week, every week for my entire, and I built an 8-figure business my first year in the business. But my wife and I have 2 daughters. And so I wanted to provide my time to them. And so I created a dream team network. This is what this is. It's a dream team network of people that know what my client profile looks like. And if you're in agent attraction, then not only is it just now transactions, now it's about who do you know? How many other agents do you know in your life that you can introduce me to? But as the agent leader, I'm always providing more than I'm receiving. And I'll always be in that position. And I'm not looking to grow 100 referrals a year. I'm looking just for those additional, it's just a branch. It's a healthy branch to your existing real estate business on how your outreach and how you're bringing in more production year after year. So, any other questions? And I'd love to answer and have a call with you. If you just want to run some things by me, please give me a call. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I look forward to visiting with you.
I will call you this week.
Thanks, Tony. Looking forward to visiting with you.
Love it. Anybody else, guys? Any last questions before we give you your evenings back?
No questions, just a thank you.
Okay.
Well,
awesome.
thanks for having us. It was great.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
thank
much.
you
Spend
guys.
some time with
I
you. Let us know
appreciate
if we
it.
can help
Chris
in
and
any
Chris,
way.
thank you guys very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Have a great
Take
evening.
care,
We'll be in
everybody.
touch.
Have a
Okay.
good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.